My wife had a bad bike accident about a month ago and was knocked out for about 10 or 15 minutes. We had a pretty normal father-son relationship. He was strict and hard and all the other things I didn't like about having that kind of relationship as a child. The country music world is in shock after hearing the terrible news about Vince Gill. He's been through hard times before, but this time the stakes are higher than ever. What's really going on and how will it change everything for him, stay Vince Gill's rise to fame? The crowd cheered as Vince Gill walked onto the stage with his guitar. He wasn't yet a famous country star, but he knew this was where he belonged. Music had been a part of his life for as long as he could remember. It began in his childhood home in Norman, Oklahoma, where his father played the banjo and guitar. Vince watched and listened, learning every note his father encouraged him to play, and soon he was mastering instruments. Vince wasn't just playing the guitar, banjo, fiddle, and mandolin, he was feeling the music as he got older. He wanted to share his music with everyone, not just his family and friends. In high school, he joined a local band called Mountain Smoke. They played bluegrass music and quickly became popular in Oklahoma. Vince was the lead singer and guitarist, and it was clear that he had something special. But Vince knew that staying in his hometown would not be the right thing for him. Vince took a big step in the mid-1970s when he moved to Kentucky and joined a well-known bluegrass band called Bluegrass Alliance. This was a new experience for him. He played in different places and with some of the best bluegrass musicians. He was learning, growing, and getting even better. His name was starting to get known, and it wasn't long before a bigger chance came his way. In 1979, the country rock band Pure Prairie League was looking for a lead singer. Vince tried out for the job of lead singer and guitarist and got it. He moved to California and started performing with the band. Their song Let Me Love You Tonight became a big hit, making it to the top 10 on the pop charts. Vince heard his voice on the radio for the first time. He was now in a successful band, playing in front of big crowds, but something was missing. Vince loved music, but he knew this wasn't the kind of music he really wanted to make. He was more interested in country music, where he could tell stories through his songs. It wasn't easy for Vince to make the move to Nashville, Tennessee, the center of country music. The city was full of talented musicians, all trying to make a name for themselves, so he had to start from the bottom again. He played backup for other artists and worked as a session musician. He released a few solo albums, but they didn't bring him the success he was hoping for. He kept working hard, writing songs and performing whenever he could. That day would finally come in 1989 when he signed with MCA Nashville and released the album When I Call Your Name. The title song was a huge hit. It was a beautiful emotional ballad that touched people's hearts. The song won him a Grammy Award and made him a star. After years of hard work, Vince Gill had finally found his place in country music. From that point on, his career took off. His songs went to the top of the charts, his album sold millions of copies, and his voice became one of the most adored in the genre. After years of hard work, Vince Gill was finally where he always wanted to be. But what was the song that carried his deepest heartbreak? Come with us to find out. Vince Gill was alone with his guitar, and the melody of a song kept playing in his head. He had started writing it years ago, but something stopped him. The emotions were too raw, and the words were too painful to put on paper. It was a song born from grief, but he didn't know it. Yet life was about to give him the missing piece. In 1989, country music lost a rising star, Keith Whitley. He was a talented singer with an emotional voice who died at the age of 33. His struggles with alcoholism had caught up with him, leaving a wave of sadness in the music world. Vince Gill, who had always admired Whitley's talent, was deeply affected by his death. In the weeks that followed, he found himself picking up his guitar and trying to write a song about his grief. He wrote the first few lines but couldn't finish the song. Every time he tried to finish the song, he felt too upset, so he put it down, not sure if he would ever finish it. For 4 years, the lyrics stayed unfinished, and Vince continued to make music and be successful in the country world, but that unfinished song was still with him. Then, in 1993, tragedy struck again, this time much closer to home. Vince's older brother Bob Gill died of a heart attack. The pain of losing his brother brought up old wounds, reminding Vince of the grief he had felt for Whitley. Something was different. Instead of ignoring his feelings, he picked up his guitar again. The song that had been too hard for him to finish before now flowed naturally. Every word carried the weight of his loss, and every note held the sadness he couldn't express before. What had begun as a tribute to Keith Whitley had become a song about saying goodbye and finding peace after a hard life. The words, "Go rest high on that mountain, son, your work on earth is done," were no longer just about Whitley. Vince knew the song needed something extra when it was time to record it, so he reached out to two country artists he admired, Patty Loveless and Ricky Skaggs. Their harmonies gave the song a haunting beauty that made it even more powerful. When Go Rest High on That Mountain came out in 1995 as the sixth single from Vince's album, no one thought it would be a big hit. Ballads weren't usually the most popular songs on the radio, but something amazing happened. Fans connected with the song in a way that few others did. It became a song played at funerals, memorials, and times of deep sorrow. Vince himself had a hard time performing it without getting emotional. Every time he sang it, he thought of his brother Keith Whitley and all the people who had lost loved ones in 2013. Vince was asked to perform the song at the funeral of country legend George Jones. As he stood on stage with Patty Loveless next to him, the weight of the moment was too much for him and tears filled his eyes. The crowd watched. As he sang every word with all his heart, it was one of the most emotional performances of his career and a reminder of why this song had meant so much to him over the years. Go Rest High on That Mountain became one of the most beloved songs in country music history. In 2023, it was certified platinum, which means that over 1 million copies were sold. But the song's real success wasn't in the number of copies sold. It was in the many people who found comfort in its message, which helped them deal with grief and reminded them that love and memories would never fade. Gill didn't mean to write a song that would touch millions of people. He was just a man trying to put his pain into words. But in doing so, he created something timeless, a song that will continue to bring peace, healing, and hope to generations to come. After putting so much into his most emotional song, how did Vince Gill find the courage to step out of the shadows? The answer lies in the risk he took and the passion that drove his solo journey from playing in bands to becoming a solo star. But deep down, he always knew he wanted more. He wasn't just a musician, he was a storyteller. The melodies, emotions, and stories behind the songs were all inside him, waiting for the right time to be heard. But leaving the safety of a band to go it alone wasn't easy. He needed patience, determination, and a strong belief in his own music. For years, Vince had been in groups where he blended in and added to the sound instead of leading it. He had performed as a lead. As a singer with Pure Prairie Leak, Vince played with some of Nashville's best musicians and opened for country legends. He was respected in the business for his smooth voice and amazing guitar skills, but he was always supporting someone else's vision because he hadn't yet made his own. Going solo wasn't easy. The music business was tough, and even though Vince had made a name for himself as a skilled musician, that didn't mean he would be successful as a solo artist. Many musicians had tried and failed, but Vince knew that he had to take a chance if he wanted to share his own songs, ones that were based on his own experiences and feelings. At first, it wasn't easy. As a solo artist, Vince had to prove himself not only as a great musician, but also as a singer-songwriter who could carry an entire album on his own. The pressure was huge, and there were times when he doubted himself and success seemed far away. But he kept going, putting all of his heart into his music and refusing to give up. Vince had learned from some of the best musicians in the business, but he didn't want to just copy their style. He wanted to make something new, a mix of country, bluegrass, and rock influences that reflected his own musical journey. Then he had his big break. His solo career took off, and his warm, honest, and emotional voice reached audiences in a way it had never before. People weren't just listening to his music, people were connecting with his music. His lyrics were about love, loss, hope, and heartache, and they hit home for everyone with each new song. He was no longer just a background musician. He was an artist in the spotlight, telling his own stories as he became a solo star. Vince never forgot where he came from. The years he spent in bands taught him the value of working with others and being a good musician, but now he had found his own voice, and once he did, there was no going back. Let's talk about the challenges that love brought him that not even music could have prepared him for. Let's start with the struggles. Love isn't a straight path. It twists and turns and is often tested by life's hardest problems. For Vince Gill, love wasn't just about happiness. It was also about sacrifice and standing strong through life's problems. He had felt the weight of loss, the joy of love, and the pain of heartache. But through it all, he never lost sight of what was most important, the people he loved and the music that kept him going. Vince's love life hasn't been easy. His first marriage to country singer Janice Oliver was full of promise. They met early in their careers and became deeply connected through music. They'd built a life together with their daughter Jenny, but as Vince's career took off, the pressures of fame, touring, and time apart hurt their marriage. Eventually, they got divorced in the late 1990s. The breakup was painful, and Vince felt terrible knowing that his career had a part in it. Vince met Amy Grant during this tough time. They had met years before, but now they were both going through their own problems. Amy had just ended a marriage, and Vince was going through his own. The two found comfort in each other's shared experiences. What began as a friendship turned into something deeper. They understood each other in a way that few others could. They had both lived public lives, been hurt by love, and knew how important family and love were. When they finally got together, it wasn't easy. They had to combine their families, which wasn't always easy since Amy had 3 kids from a previous marriage and Vince had Jenny. Making a home where everyone felt loved and included took patience, compromise, and a lot of understanding, but they were determined to make it work. They knew that love wasn't just about big gestures or perfect moments. It was about being there every day, through good times and bad. He turned to music to say what words couldn't. He wrote songs about his journey, his heartbreak, his healing, and his love for Amy. One of his most moving songs, When My Amy Prays, was a tribute to her faith and how it had inspired him. He sang about how she prayed and her belief even when he was having trouble finding his own. It was a song of thanks, admiration, and love that had been tested but never broken. Vince Gill has been through the pain of heartbreak and the joy of second chances, but through it all he has always loved Amy, stayed true to what was most important to him, his family, his music, and the deep, lasting love that guides him forward. Just when Vince thought he had been through all of his problems, an unexpected tragedy hit and tested him in ways he never thought possible. Stay with us as we reveal the heartbreaking twist that changed everything for Vince Gill. The stage lights dimmed and Vince Gill took a deep breath before stepping forward. Music had always been his refuge, his way of expressing himself. As he played his guitar that night, his heart was heavier than it had ever been. Life had tested him before, but nothing had prepared him for the terrible news that would change everything. Vince had always been known for his steady, unwavering spirit, but behind the scenes he had been through more battles than most people could imagine over the years. Health problems had threatened to destroy everything he had built in his personal and professional life, some of which were his own, and some of which belonged to other people he cared about, loved most, shaking him to his core for years. Vince had been quietly going through severe pain in his hands for years because of a degenerative condition. The pain was constant and made it hard to play guitar, which was what made his career. He tried to keep going, not letting it slow him down, but some nights the pain was so bad that holding a guitar pick felt impossible. Fans watched him perform without knowing the hidden struggle that haunted him every time he stepped on stage despite his pain. As Vince dealt with his own problems, life dealt him another devastating blow. In the summer of 2022, his wife, Amy Grant, was in a near-fatal bicycle accident. She hit a pothole, was thrown off her bike, and was unconscious for 10 minutes. When Vince heard the news, his whole world seemed to stop. Amy was more than just his wife. She was his partner in everything. He had always been her protector, but now he had to be her partner in everything. Amy had a traumatic brain injury, so her recovery was slow. She had trouble remembering things, was tired, and had moments of confusion that scared Vince. He canceled performances, put aside his own pain, and dedicated himself fully to her care. No stage, no award, and no song mattered more than making sure she got better. Seeing someone he loved fight through such a terrible injury changed Vince forever. He had always believed in the healing power of nonviolence, but now he saw how fragile life was in a new way. Every moment with Amy became more precious, and every word he didn't say became more important. The experience also made Vince face his own health problems. He had spent years ignoring his pain, telling himself he could keep going, but after almost losing Amy, he realized he couldn't keep saying that. He started getting treatment for his condition, determined to keep doing what he loved without suffering in silence. His music was what got him through every hard time. He put all of his feelings into his songs, using his pain and fear as fuel for his art. When Amy finally came back to him, stronger than ever, he knew that every battle had been worth it. Vince Gill's life has been full of amazing success, but behind the scenes, he has been through unbearable pain. His health problems and the terrifying experience of almost losing Amy changed his view on life, love, and strength. And though the road hasn't been easy, one thing is for sure, his music and love will never fade. Thanks for watching this shocking report on Vince Gill's life. If the sad news caught your attention, please like and share your leave. Leave your thoughts below, and don't forget to click on the cards for more amazing Don't Miss These stories.